Good evening. First, I want to thank the Lawrence Township High School Percussion Department for their wonderful presentation and playing while we all came in. I love them. Thank you again. Good evening, and welcome to the Lawrence Township Public School Town Hall. I am so excited to host this evening's discussion and answer your questions and address your concerns and clear up any confusion about the upcoming referendum. First, I want to ensure everyone that the Lawrence Township Board of Education remains fully committed to making financially responsible decisions while prioritizing and upholding student achievement. Since returning from the pandemic, our community has made it clear that addressing academic recovery and improving educational success must be our top priority to meet the needs of all of our students. With this in mind, the board hired Dr. Robin Klim to lead our schools and drive our strategic plan for academic excellence. After a thorough and thoughtful examination of our district's academic, financial, and operational needs, Dr. Klim, along with our educators and community, determined that the proposed changes in this referendum are essential to achieve our shared goals. A major focus of the referendum is addressing much-needed updates to our 75-year-old middle school and surrounding campus. The proposed changes were designed with educator input to allow for the new 6th to 8th grade structure, aligning with best practices to better support students and ensure that they meet and exceed state standards. This evening, you will hear about the specific changes proposed in the referendum and the designs to improve our physical capacity for flexible learning environments, accessibility upgrades, and enhanced facilities that will increase community usage. Tonight is about having an open dialogue and making sure you have the information you need to make an informed decision. We appreciate your time, your engagement, and your commitment to the success of our schools and our students. The brochure given to you when you entered, if you haven't received one, they're on tables outside, highlight the details of the referendum, which Dr. Klim will go over tonight. Let's get started. Dr. Klim?
First of all, I've never been told I need a microphone a day in my life. However, I will use one for the benefit of those all the way in the back. First, I want to start off by giving my leadership team and this entire LTPS staff a big shout out and applause. They are in their red polo shirts. This is not just about kids. This is about our teachers, our educators, all of our staff that work the daily operation of our schools. So I'm going to start with a little bit of history. I realize we have constituents in here that have never heard anything about this project. And then we have a range of friends, thank you very much, who have seen us at Direct Link, community conversations, district events, where they've had the opportunity to view these plans and get a deep dive of what this project actually entails. So we're going to get started. I want to talk to you a little bit about the current strategic plan. So this is my second year as superintendent of schools. This strategic plan started 3 years ago with Dr. Kaysen and this leadership team in the Board of Education. We made a commitment a while ago that we were going to honor and work towards student wellness, student achievement, and equity, diversity, and inclusion. And what that meant was the board established pretty lofty goals for academic success, to make sure the whole child was being served through this plan, to make sure that there were meaningful supports for kids, and that every student belongs in our school. I'm going to highlight belonging for a minute because it's beyond belonging. It's now mattering. You can belong in a group, but whether or not your voice matters is what we want for every single child and educator in this district. This is our current plan, and I'm actually very proud to announce that come the spring, to sort of marry up with some of our reconfiguration plans, we would like to embark in a new strategic plan process. So we will be asking for stakeholder input, community input, to make sure that we can kind of nail down goals and objectives that are achievable, lofty, but achievable, with metrics that the community can check in on and see the progress of the plans that we put forth. So this sort of just brings us forward to 3 years prior. A lot of what I'm going to share with you tonight predates my tenure in the district. A lot of it is forward-thinking, visionary ideas of what a reconfiguration would look like, who it would benefit, and how well we can maximize our resources, meet our goals for academic achievement, and make sure we have a space and place for academic learning environments that are flexible for our educators to work in and for our students to enjoy and thrive in. I'm going to stay on this slide for a little bit because this is going to hit home. Right now, our current configuration in our 4 elementary schools is pre-K to 3. LIS is 4 to 6. And the middle school is 7-8, and of course our high school is 9-12. When we started mapping out the vision of what a district academically thriving should be and should look like, we made a decision as a leadership team, as an educator team, with our constituents to say, this is the configuration, not only that matches with the New Jersey state standards for learning, these are the grade level bands that the state and all of the researchers out there are saying are developmentally appropriate for children to access the curriculum in an efficient way. And let's talk about this configuration for a minute. Pre-K to 2, imagine being a young learner in an early childhood education building where the leaders and the educators are targeting early literacy and numeracy skills. These foundational years are essentially an early intervention model to making sure that we close learning gaps before we even get to an upper elementary model. Grades 3 to 5, again, an upper elementary model. You're moving from learning to read to reading to learn. When you're in an upper elementary school, there is opportunities for personalized learning and group work and analysis and items and things in the classroom that we can target and specialize for our kiddos. It looks very different, the skill sets between leaders and educators and these 2 pockets. What the community may not be aware of is our current configuration at LIS is 4 to 6. We are essentially running an elementary school schedule. Where's Dr. Fisher?
Behind
Oh,
you.
she's right there. Forgot she's behind me. We're essentially running an elementary school schedule alongside a middle school schedule. This is no easy feat. Our current 6th graders are ready for more. Our 6th grade kiddos need access to extracurricular activities and sports. In Mercer County, if you've done a deep dive of configuring schools and what things look like, they bring grade 6 to the sports fields and grade 6 to extracurricular activities and competitions. We can't produce them. They're not a part of that grade level band. What's important to note is that post-COVID, we have learned a lot about student readiness for learning. When you start to put together the expertise and you design curriculum in a way that fosters ideal landscape for grade levels to stay combined together, where the curriculum loops, the best decision is to move 6th grade up to LMS. This is not a new concept. Dr. Malowski has served almost 3 decades in this district, and she can tell you, yes. She can tell you, she wished she had more time. She wished she had more time with this grade level. She wished she had more time to bring these students and level them up and put them in the developmental space where they are ready to be with their same age peers. Of course, high school, 9 to 12, remains. I need to stick with this model for a minute for you to understand the importance of why we grouped these grade levels together. This is monumental. It finally puts us in a competitive space among our county and state competitors, with middle schools, and it makes us heavily attractive when we break out the grade levels this way. And we are looking for the expertise of our educators to serve among the continuum. So, I use the analogy of, you don't go to a generalist physician if you're having heart problems, you go to the cardiologist. Our teachers feel similarly. They are very passionate about their craft. They know how to teach reading and then how to apply the skills at the upper elementary levels for math and analysis and writing components that start to come into play. The other thing that's interesting, we look at instructional time. More time in the classroom with these amazing educators that are sitting in the room equals better standardized test scores, it equals better responses on New Jersey State Report Card. It's more attractive of a district when we invest in the excellence of a grid that sort of looks like this as they matriculate through. So why a referendum? There are so many reasons for a referendum. First off, academically, we need to restructure. We need to move up to the 21st century. We need spaces to design and program for our kids so that they are flexible and that we can build out and move and shift with state recommendations as they come down the pike. New science curriculum, I'd love a new science lab. I'd love teachers not to be on carts. I would love our related service providers not to have to do occupational therapy or physical therapy in open spaces. I would love to protect the privacy of our students. As a former special ed director, this is very near and dear to my heart that we have the space and the privacy to not only provide academics, but to make sure all the other stuff that takes away from learning during our students' day, which we do have a responsibility to address. Anything that impacts the educational day that comes to our attention, it is our responsibility to meet with that child, investigate, and kind of move them through whatever concerns that come our way. We take all of our kids, all of their issues, everything they bring our way, we are ready and armed. And we've got a great fleet of people ready to receive them academically, socially, and emotionally. This building, check out these seats. Raise your hand if you're an alumni. Have you sat in these seats 30, 40 years ago? I have staff that probably have their names marked on this seat. So obviously, we are using a projector. We've got an outdated setting. We would like to maximize this opportunity with the referendum to tie in, refurbish, and make sure that we're building out spaces that are professional looking. We all know, I don't know how you feel. My husband's in the back, he's an alumni as well, he's a Cardinal. When the house gets a little messy, I start to feel a little something. Imagine how our teachers feel when they have to share small group spaces. Imagine not having classrooms ready and available to pull kids into privately. So I'm going to share some statistics. 34% of our families, I checked today, do not speak English as their first language at home. 33% of our families are lower socioeconomic and free and reduced. The reason why I use those numbers is sometimes when you have mitigating factors and your family is working several jobs and you're worried about putting food on the table, when these kiddos come into school, sometimes there's a lot more than academics that we have to manage and handle. And that is absolutely our job to make sure that we take care of. So our special ed population is growing. Ms. Bakarsiak is here as well. When you've got 22% special ed and about 35% of other kiddos in need of some type of small group, specialized, targeted instruction, that means that more than 50% of our kids, as they matriculate through this district, need small group instruction. We don't have space. We don't have space to provide in a private way and educate our kids thoughtfully and methodically to be able to get this work done. Financial readiness. Of course, we have Mr. Eldridge here, our money man. He's our business administrator. I think we've got 3 decades on the book, almost, in Lawrence. We have saved for this moment. We are contributing $4 million in capital reserves. We've got close to $12 million projected that will come back to us in the form of state aid if this bond referendum passes. This will allow us to tie in all of the projects existing to be able to renovate them and also to build new. This is an opportunity that doesn't come along Maybe it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I mean, I feel pretty fortunate to be standing in front of you I get to talk and dream and be among educators that share the same vision about setting up the footprint of the district for the next 75 years. Let me go back. I can't go back. It's going to stay there for a minute. All right. I want to go through the plans. Some of you have not seen these plans. The architects are here. The two gentlemen in the front, George and Steve, thank you very much. They are in the cafeteria with another set of the plans, so certainly you can ask them questions afterwards. But I want to just give you an overview of the project. For those of you that have never seen this to me is the easiest concept to really kind of take in. The blue is the proposed new construction. 2 stories to bring in the 6th grade over. The green is all of the renovated spaces, which we get money back from when we bond and the vote passes, and we're able to take that contributor of principal and interest payments that we get to pay off, and we get to tie in the middle school building so that when we go and visit West Windsor Plainsboro, they have old, they have new. When you walk through, you can't tell. Do we want our kids saying, you're in the old side, you're in the new side? Let's do this the right way. So this plan incorporates, and this is an aerial view as well, but I'm gonna stick here for a minute. This is a courtyard, an open air courtyard. I've got our STEAM supervisors ready to build this out with plans for curriculum design and some really cool stuff. When you add a 2-story addition, you've got to add core spaces. I don't know if you've seen our cafeteria. How many lunches do you have to run, Dr. Mulaski? 4 lunches for 2 grade levels. Because we cannot physically fit these kids in there safely. They're getting bigger, they need space, they need time, they need to get their energy out. So imagine the instructional time we can add back into the schedule, creatively considering the addition of a cafeteria A and B, so that we can flow the lunches and redesign the schedule accordingly. Secondly, you can't run a 6th grade schedule with 7th and 8th without another core space, such as the gym. What's cool about the gym is it's going to be a lockout facility, which means if our community and our constituents want to rent it out, that's a facilities request. This is the first and only space we have in the district that would allow the community to come in and not have access to our schools. You all have children. I have children. I'd like them protected. School security is a big deal for a lot of people. Having a lockout space that is separate and apart, it'll be attached, but separate and apart is super important to the dynamics of how we interact with our community. Let me go further. Special ed population. So if I'm telling you that close to 1/4 of our special ed kiddos need to be programmed here in Lawrence Township schools, what I'm also gonna share is a lot of times they get up to the middle school and we simply don't have the small group instruction space to educate. Now again, I said I was a former special ed teacher. Special ed director, nothing breaks my heart than to know that we may not have the core facility, the space, the accessibility to the bathroom, the location of the nurse's office. The nurse's office, by the way, you came in through the front door, it's all the way down here in the corner. Part of this plan, I think George and Steve have the good one, but part of this plan is to make the middle school and the high school forward facing. So no more backup on Princeton Pike. No more kiddos blocking up Gainsborough and Review Avenue. I know I get emails from Review Avenue, friends. We can take and pull those kids off the street, bring them into the center of the additional parking. We added 210 spaces, about that, to this footprint, because when you're parking on our lot, we have security monitoring. I don't know if anybody has drivers. I'm embarking on having a second driver in my house. It's incredibly nerve-wracking to know that my kid is parked all the way down Gainsborough where there's no camera or anything to really view what happened with the car or anything. We did a traffic study. So again, when you have time or if you want to visit the architects, we made sure to fly drones. This took months. We worked with the architects. We worked with a traffic engineer so that we have drop-off and pickup lanes now in front of both buildings. I don't know if you're a parent, it's very stressful. I see the lineup every morning, it gives me anxiety. I watch kids running across the street. That will now be turned inward. We will have a nurses station up front. We will have guidance counselors, the support teams available that are accessible and with facilities that are private for our children to thrive and feel that they are cared for. We have accessibility features. So, I don't know if you've tried to come to our stadium. You've got the porta potties, there's not really great facilities. If you have trouble ambulating, it's really hard to get into a football game, you're walking really far. So what we proposed was parking closer to this back stadium, ADA accessible, no rocks, no grass, all ADA accessible to ensure that all of our community are welcome and invited to our space, regardless of their needs. That was super important. The last thing I'll focus on is the fields. You bring up another grade level. I don't know if anyone has ever been here that watches the color guard and the marching band practicing in what we call the bus depot, which is where the buses sort of line up. There's not space for marching band, for color guard, for some of the teams to practice. It is very difficult to schedule secondary athletics. Mr. Amarada is here. He did a deep dive on what an athletic schedule would look like if we had more playing time, accessible fields, no rainouts, more games and such hosted at home. I think I've covered a lot here. What I'd like to do is really focus on this beautiful panel that I have. These are the experts. They're here tonight because they have the historical knowledge in the district. They are who I rely on for the visionary work and the plans, and then I take their great knowledge and I inform the board. Because these are truly the best of the best. So I'm going to start with Miss Musi. You're going to introduce yourselves 30 seconds. And we're going to go down the line, and then I promise we will start the public Q&A. Go ahead, Miss Musi.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening. First, thanks for coming. It's really important that you're all here. As Dr. Klim said, my name is Jean Musi. I have actually been a member of the LTPS community for about 29 years, first as a parent, then as a teacher, and currently as an administrator. Both of my sons went through 13 years of the Lawrence Township public school system, and now my husband and I are empty nesters. As empty nesters, it's really important to us to have a strong public school system. For us, it means safer community, more engaged citizens, and strong property values. As someone who's been here a really long time and has seen a lot of changes, I was here when Ben Franklin got the new gym, or LES got the new library, when the high school put on the wonderful addition, roofs, air conditioning. There's so many things that we have done because really a great school system is critically important to a community. It's the silver bullet. It's the great equalizer. So we all are here to support this great, exciting innovation. Over to Ms. Seaman.
Thank you, Ms. Musi. I'm Amy Emett, and this is my 19th year in the district. Started here as a teacher and then became the assistant principal at LIS and now the proud principal at Eldridge Park Elementary School, which is where my teaching career was. And I also have to say that I did a brief tour here at LMS and worked in this facility on musicals and concerts and things, and we are certainly due for an upgrade. Our kids deserve that, and our community deserves that as well. And I just want to say that what I'm so proud of being such a long career here in Lawrence, I've been so dedicated to this community and to our students. And the best thing I think about our team is that we're always putting students first. We make decisions for what is best for kids. Whenever there's a decision to be made, it doesn't matter who I'm working with on this team or the team out here, or if you're a parent sitting in front of me, we are making decisions that are best for kids. And as you just heard Dr. Klim say about our reconfiguration for social emotional reasons, for academic excellence, excellence, for our extracurricular reasons. We really support this referendum in making sure that we are doing what's best for kids and being inclusive of our community. So thank you for coming out tonight, and we look forward to your questioning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Fisher. I am currently the principal at Lawrence Intermediate School. I've been in education for over 20 years, but I've been fortunate enough to be an administrator here in Lawrence for over 13 years. I've held a variety of different positions. I was an athletic director, a supervisor, as well as an assistant principal at the high school. I was lucky enough to be part of the large turf project and to see how the process worked and the communication with our community throughout that project, and have seen the benefits that just those turf projects alone has benefited the community. And now really excited about our future here in Lawrence. I also have a vested interest. I am a community member. I went to college at TCNJ and I couldn't leave Mercer County. I was a South Jersey person and I just didn't want to leave, moved to Lawrence, became a parent unconventionally, and have seen my kids not only flourish in our school district, but I've also had a unique opportunity to be their principal. I'd say the middle one certainly gives me a run for my money. The little one's coming up next year, but it's a unique perspective for me because I can really look at everything from many different lenses, whether it's from the special education lens, the athletics lens, and all of the different pieces. And I'm really fortunate to see all of the things that we've done and grown here. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we continue to build our students. We're preparing our students and our schools for things that we don't even know exist yet. We're preparing them for jobs that aren't even created yet. So creating diverse and collaborative and creative spaces for them to learn in all of our buildings as part of this project is really going to be exciting. And again, I have a vested interest in it, but I know that, whether the students that haven't even been born yet in Lawrence are going to benefit from these projects, it's a really unique and amazing thing to be a part of.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Vanessa Bakarsiak, and I'm a proud graduate of the Lawrence High School, class of 1998. And I have a deep connection to the Lawrence community. I began my career here as a school psychologist at the Lawrence Intermediate School, and it's truly been full circle for me to return home here and lead the district as the assistant superintendent for student services. My commitment to Lawrence is to ensure that all students, especially those with disabilities, can thrive in their home community, and for them to have access to the continuum of programs, services, and supports, as well as extracurricular activities. I am excited to support our students through this wonderful referendum opportunity. And as they say, once a cardinal, always a cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm Tom Eldridge. It's a pleasure being here with you, and it makes me laugh because in 1995, I was a graduate assistant here, and I spent a year as a volunteer trying to learn my craft that I am in now. And at that time, you were a freshman in high school. We've been through many things together, and I'm here tonight to hope to answer questions that you may have. Just a little bit of history. Not about me, but things that you've seen happen. So I saw some former board members in the audience tonight. Mr. Marks, nice to see you. I was on a road trip with you when I had hair. So back then, it's been that long. It's good to see you. And Dr. Wilford, it's good to see you. So we're building on legacies that you created. And so I think you can see the legacy you created as you fast forward. And I'll take you back briefly 30 years in 30 seconds. I think that you'll see as you look at Ben Franklin and LES and you look at the high school and the additions and renovations we did at those times, we built out for the reasons of appropriate learning spaces more than anything, as well as overcrowding. And while we did that, we did some renovations also. And so that's not new to what we're talking about here, because tonight when we talk about these plans, you're going to see footprints of these, the schematics that you see here. We actually drafted something almost identical to this in 2003. So the idea of building onto the middle school and bringing over the sixth grade has been around quite a long time. And through that process, we've taken some other journeys in anticipation of getting here. So we did those additions. We did many referendums in terms of things that were cutting edge at the time and novel. And we're always, perhaps you'd say, entrepreneurial. We're looking, and we never settle. We want the best for your kids. We've done things that you may have seen up and down the pike by running our own fiber optics. We have petitioned the state and gotten special footnotes in the state budgets to make sure we got additional state aid. We're always looking for ways to improve by putting solar panels, 5,000 or so, on our roofs. We don't settle. We are not complacent. We are absolutely entrepreneurial, and we do come through. And so those things are there. We like to think, and I like to look at your lead. Lawrence is a scrappy place. It's one of the best things. You motivate me when you ask questions, and you raise the bar. Your standard is high, and we like to meet your standard. Hurricane Sandy, we were open for that. It was a pleasure to meet so many people in Hurricane Sandy, where Mindy was making sure the kids were okay, and we were having our seniors bust in, and we were feeding people. We've spent a lot of time together, and we bring this to you tonight with the absolute most confidence. We know that you can't see all of the detail behind all of our thinking, but as I sit next to the people here, we have a track record of making it happen. And we do that because you put us here. You elected people with a steady hand, your Board of Education. They have a steady set of goals and a vision. They're building on the vision of the people that are in this room right now who have been here, and they were your elected officials. They're your can-do people. So when you are one of us and you're questioned by former board members, it makes us better. You help us think better. And so thank you to all of you who have reached out to us. All of the things that you see tonight have fallback plans. They have tertiary plans. What if this? What if that? We have so many good ideas, we wish we could do them all. And so when you see these things tonight, we've been thinking about these since at least 2003. And so please ask your questions, and it's a pleasure. We want to give you the information you need. And I'll just look to my right, and the workhorse, Dr. Malofsky, can make it happen. And she's our principal of the year, too.
Thanks, Tom. So you've heard, I'm the oldest one here, right? At this point. Mindy Molaski, I am the excited principal. I'm proud, but I'm very excited about the possibilities of this referendum. And yes, I've been here. I was counting. I was like, how long has it actually been? Because I lose track. This is my 33rd year in the district. I started off as a high school teacher, high school coach. I look at Vanessa, I look at so many people in this room that I was all of it. Health teacher, the whole 9 yards. So, but I stay because I love this community. And I really care about our kids, our staff, and we have amazing people. And with this, there are so many opportunities for our kids. And we can do so many things, and that's why it's exciting. And as you sit in these seats from 1951, and that we can change this room, it's dark, it's dingy, and we bring it alive every spring with our musical and with our plays and our concerts, but it can be a bright, amazing space. And we talked about 4 lunches, and we really looked into this plan so that we can have all great things for our kids. So I'm looking forward to your questions. I thank you all for coming. A lot of people came in tonight that I haven't seen their faces in many years, and they haven't been in this building, and the high school gets to always showcase. So we're really glad that you're here so you can walk the footprint, the existing footprint, and see what it looks like. So I'm going to turn it over to Dave.
Thanks, Mindy. Welcome, everyone. My name is David M. I am the very proud principal of Lawrence High School. This is my 10th year as the principal of the high school. Previously, I was the principal at LIS, right down the road in Acreage Crossing. And then previously before that, I was here as an assistant principal, working with Ms. Malofsky, then as assistant principals here. 29 years in education altogether. And I just want to echo something that many of you have heard throughout the night here. It's what the community and the district do as partners together to look forward for their students, for our children. One of the things that I'm very, very proud of, I was part of the Talent to One grant. Many of you may remember that when we first brought laptop computers to 6th grade students. I was the principal at LIS at that time, and we were the first school district in Mercer County to bring laptops to students and handed them out. We were told we were crazy. You're going to give laptops to sixth grade students, and they're going to take them home. And then we're going to give them to seventh graders and eighth graders and high school students. First district in Mercer County to do something like that. More schools in Mercer County give laptops to students than they don't in Mercer County now. Why? Because it's forward thinking. You're personalizing the educational experience for every single student. You're engaging them in the way they need to be engaged. And it's about what's best for them, for not today, but for their future. And that's what this referendum is all about. It's about our students and their future. What can we do to support them? One of the things I've always been proud of is how the community and the district have worked together to do what's best for our students moving forward. And I think that's what tonight's all about. I have a few more points I wanted to share with you, but Ms. D'Angelo did ask if I would cede some of my time to her because she had some extra bullet points she wanted to share with you. So I will turn over to Mrs. D'Angelo.
Thank you, Dr. Adam. Appreciate that. Hi, I'm Michelle D'Angelo. This is my 16th year in Lawrence. I am a child study member, a school psychologist, and currently I am an out-of-district case manager. I have 2 children who graduated from Lawrence High School in 2010 and 2013. My daughter is currently a preschool teacher at the Ben Franklin School, but that's not why I was asked to talk to you tonight. I was asked to talk to you because I am the president of the Lawrence Township Education Association, and the union is concerned about all areas of the school day. I know that the LTEA has an interest that dovetails every single person who's spoken prior to me tonight. And every function, every aspect of the school day, whether it's providing safety, instruction, cleanliness, access, support, these are just but a few categories. Working conditions are always important to the union, where and how our members can deliver instruction, and all of the related services that our students require rely on environmental conditions. Facilities controls the ease with which LTEA members can perform their jobs, whether those members are certificated or non-certificated. Updated facilities allow for more curricular and co-curricular options, both during and after the school day. It allows our members to offer enrichment to our students. Safety and privacy, having appropriate space and privacy is essential for testing and evaluation. Assessing students who may be having a mental health moment or have other comorbid conditions that can immediately require attention and privacy. Additional space to conduct small group instruction, for instance, is another need if we are to be in compliance with IEPs. Programming for learners with diverse needs requires all of the above. Expanding classroom space will allow for options that do not exist now. And finally, delivering instruction is a partnership between the district and the union, and one that we take very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I forgot to introduce myself. I apologize. I am Michelle Bose, the board president for Lawrence Township Public Schools. I've been on the board for about 11 years. I have 2 students who graduated from Lawrence Township. They've spent their entire education here. I stayed on the board because it is an amazing opportunity for me to do something for my community. This isn't just for our students. This isn't just for our teachers. This is for Lawrence Township. This will be a game changer for us. We will be able to afford our community opportunities that never existed before, allowing spaces for our community members to use, beautiful fields for people to come and play sports, and of course, most importantly, an amazing educational place for our great teachers and our administrators. It's an honor and a privilege to be the board president for Lawrence Township. I am looking forward to sharing all of the information this evening with you. And before we begin, and we're going to begin our questions in just a few minutes, I just want to go over a couple of ground rules so everybody knows what to expect. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming today, and just remind everybody that each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes to allow for as many voices as possible. If you would like to speak a second time, you may do so only after all others who wish to speak have had their turn. If you prefer to submit a written question or comment, there are note cards in the back of the auditorium on the left and a red box. You can fill that out, and we will try to address as many of these as time allows at the end of the meeting. Any questions we are unable to answer tonight will be addressed on our referendum website in the Q&A section. In addition, if you have questions unrelated to the referendum, please hold it until the end of the meeting and we can respond later, or you can write it down and put it in the box, and please leave your email address or contact number so we can get back to you. If you have any additional questions or want to continue to learn more about the referendum, we will be hosting another town hall virtually on February 26th. We ask that all speakers express themselves in a civil manner so that we can have a constructive conversation. We're excited to address your questions and share as much information as possible about the referendum and its impact on our community. If you'd like to ask a question, please make your way down the aisle to one of the two microphones. If you wish to speak, please state your name, and we'll have people over there to take down your address. And we thank you for your participation, and we look forward to your discussion. Dr. Klim will be the MC.
So depending on the question that comes our way, I will literally toss it to the members of the panel that I think are best equipped to respond. So please don't be shy. You can hit the microphone on either end, and we'll get started. Ms. Pazluzny and Ms. Baldessari will just be jotting down your name, address for the record.
Ira Marks, 6 Pembroke Court in Lawrence. Just as a matter of history, I was on the school board from 1992 to 1998. And some of you may remember that there was a referendum, I can't remember if it was 1996 or 1997, to build a new middle school on Keefe Road, to take this school and combine it into a high school campus. I was the only school board member to vote against that referendum, and I joined with a former councilwoman, Carol Harrell, and we pretty much defeated the referendum. Now that doesn't mean that I'm saying anything about this referendum, but I just want to discuss with you the fact that I reviewed that referendum very deeply, used critical thinking skills, and came to the conclusion that would have been a bad idea. And as it's been proven over the last, 26, 27 years, that was a bad idea. And that, if that referendum had passed, it would have cost Lawrence Township citizens hundreds of millions of dollars in wasted tax money. Anyway, so this referendum I can go both ways on it. On the positive side, my best friend's wife was a pre-K teacher in Hoboken for 30 years. She set up 6 schools in Hoboken for pre-K. So I can tell you, just talking to her for many years, pre-K is a fabulous program to provide to our students. So I'm definitely for that. I also know that the middle school hasn't had really anything done to it in years. It's been neglected. So something, having a referendum to improve the middle school makes sense. What I don't know is this. Since most of the referendum money is going to be spent on the middle school, is that the introduction of pre-K and what I like to say, kicking the can up the road by transferring 3rd grade to LIS and 6th grade to LMS. Is that the reason for doing all this work on the middle school, or would we have done this anyway on the middle school if there was no incentive based on introducing pre-K? what would the referendum for the middle school look like?
Thank you. I think I'm going to serve up Dr. Malowski.
Actually, I think he might be.
Okay. Ms. Musi, would you like to take that
And
question?
I can just piggyback it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up the value of pre-K. We know the research is so strong on what a game changer that is. In the next few years, to be able to provide every single child with free, high-quality, full-day, good pre-K. But no, this reallocation of moving our district to where kids should be learning would be a best option anyway. So pre-K is not what is making this happen. We're really looking as educators, this is where we can serve our community the best, making sure that each school is ready to serve in the way that kids learn best with the resources that they have.
Yeah, so to piggyback that just a little bit is that the reason I picked you, Jane, is because your title is Director of Student Achievement, right? And so that's one of the things that we're trying to aim for, is how can we get our kids to achieve? And that success looks different for every child that we have, right? And so we want to celebrate all of that. We learned a lot of things here at the middle school, and I'm glad that you said we haven't gotten a lot here, right? So 1992, 91 was when that new wing of the library was put on. Everything else has been infrastructure here, and in the back also. So we got air conditioning that you can feel right now, thank goodness, because I'm old, remember. And we have air conditioning in the cafeteria, in the gym, actually throughout the whole entire building. We've had asbestos removal. We've had new boiler systems. We have everything that was in the elevator. So we've got a lot, roof. So we've had things, but they have not been classroom spaces. So one of the biggest things that we learned in the pandemic was that we need space. So we've heard a lot about small spaces. We need large spaces. That gym is going to have our entire school in it. When we have our gym right now with 600 kids, we're sitting on the floor. It is not the best acoustic system that is in there. We cannot fit the entire school in this auditorium to do assemblies. We know that we needed space in our cafeteria, as you heard Robin talk about earlier. One of the reasons we went to 4 lunches was to give our kids that space. They're bigger, they're larger. They don't want to be around everybody all the time. They need quiet time. So we have some kids that'll eat in the hallway. So we really, when we were working with the architects on these plans, we really talked about what do our kids need in the future. So yes, it needs a renovation, as we can see and we can sit in this room, but we also need space so that we can have student achievement.
I'd like to come back for another second after.
Thank you, Mr. Marks.
I just want to really make it clear to everybody that the reconfiguration is separate and apart from pre-K. We are going forward with this reconfiguration because it is what is best for student achievement. And that is what we're after, improving student achievement. Pre-K is a benefit, we were doing that anyway, but the reconfiguration is strictly for what is best for this age group.
Yeah, we'll move up that mic for you a little bit.
I'm pretty loud too. I don't always get my.
Take down your.
Hi.
You can adjust it down if you need. Yeah.
Okay. My question, I have a bunch of questions, I have no comments. The questions are around finance. So I couldn't estimate how much it's going to be the cost. My ballpark number is around 30 million. I don't know whether that's
I'm sorry, I
30,
can't hear you.
30 million.
30?
30, that was my ballpark estimate looking at the numbers.
Our referendum is upwards of, it is $94 million. is the
94?
referendum. 94.
Wow. Okay. Because the website showed 12 million government is going to provide. You're going to acquire 12 million through bonds or something, and then 5 million. That's how I figured. Okay.
It's talking about the state aid contribution.
Okay. So
it's 94 million. Okay. That's a good
$94
number.
million, and the state pays a portion of the principal and interest on that when we make our payments.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay.
So
Thank you.
it amounts to about close to 12% in state aid on that.
And what time frame? You're going to acquire all the 94 million at the same time, or it's going to be spread over time?
Typically, we bond for the entire amount at one time. Yes. We'll
Okay.
sell bonds, so the answer is yes, one time.
And how much of a buffer is planned? Because inflation is running just crazy, right?
So, yeah.
You're going to have a cost overrun. How are you going to manage that?
So it's built, to answer your question, we've already begun planning so that within about 18 months we can be at bid and awarding. And we have various buffers built into what happens at the time when we bid and award contracts. So we structure it with a mind towards cost overruns. So we can do that in various ways. So we build a contingency into the budget that's there. And when we go out to bid, we bid such that we can bid parts of a job separate from a main body of the job. If that answers your question, so that if our bids come in too high, we might bid, for example, if we were bidding we'll build a brand new school, and perhaps we build lighting in athletic fields. We might bid the lighting separate and say, okay, we're going to take an alternate bid on the lighting. Let's see what the school comes in at first so that we can gauge what happens in the environment with inflation, so that we can move ahead with the main project.
So you're not foreseeing any cost overrun?
So again?
You're not foreseeing any cost overrun? You're
We plan for, we have a contingency of upwards around 10% built into the budget. And then we strategically address cost overruns as we move forward at every step along the way. So there are multiple ways that we anticipate overruns.
Okay.
Some of which are financial in our estimates, and some of which are based in our practice.
Okay, so you said 10% cost. So what happens if it about 10%? Like, there's going to be another, is going to help, or is going to be another referendum?
So the answer to your question is we are going to know when we go out to bid in about 18 months after if the referendum passes, and of course I hope it passes. And then we will know when we take bids at that time where the costs come in. When those contractors bid, they provide us with what's called a performance bond, which is essentially an insurance policy on themselves that we're the beneficiaries of, for them to finish that job at that cost. So that's another contingency we have. So we have 3 contingencies so far that we talked about. The contingency in way of finance, then we talked about how we bid the project, then we make sure that we insure that contractor to come in at the cost. But in addition to that, they also have a deadline. And if they don't meet that deadline, there's penalties for that as well in the form of what we call liquidated damages. And so we have many different stopgap, milestone type of solutions that we build into this. And so we talk about them at length throughout the process.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, sir. His information is on the website. This is Mr. Eldridge. He's our business administrator, so feel free to direct any further questions his
All
way.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Oh my goodness. My name is Bonnie Giglio. I've been a Lawrence resident for the past 15 years. I'm here tonight to speak as the parent of 2 LTPS students and as an active community member. I've had the privilege of seeing this referendum presentation multiple times now, and I'm consistently impressed with the thoughtfulness of details that have been put into this referendum. What started out as a facility upgrade to accommodate another grade level at a 75-year-old school building, my butt is completely numb from those stairs, has morphed into a plan that truly takes into account everyone in this community, not just the student population of LTPS. The district has shown their willingness to improve the lives of all LTPS students, current and those who aren't even here yet, while also taking into account the impact on the community at large. As a proud member of the Lawrence Township Recreation Advisory Committee, I've watched over the past 7 years as the town struggles to accommodate the recreational needs of its residents. Lawrence Township does not have an indoor central location for recreational programming, making it difficult to offer year-round recreational programs consistently for children and adults. We're blessed to have 3 dedicated municipal employees who work extremely hard every day to offer programs, activities, town-wide community events, and senior programming, all while not having a facility to host those programs indoors in case of inclement weather, except for the senior center. And therefore, the town must use a patchwork of outdoor facilities and various school buildings in order to host all of these recreational programs. Having community members and students in secure school buildings outside of school hours can and has led to various issues in the past. The beauty of this referendum is that this fact has been taken into account and has been planned for. By making the new gym at LMS secure for after-hours use, recreational activities can take place without disruptions to the rest of the building, as the gym can be blocked off. The referendum also makes improvements to the high school football stadium by installing real bathroom facilities and access ramps, improving the experience for anyone attending a football game or other activities, from students to parents to community members. There's so many more points to this referendum discussion that I could highlight, but as a parent and active community member, I wanted to highlight these 2 points tonight. I hope that everyone takes the time to read all of the referendum facts and not just social media, and to think about our entire community when you're in the voting booth on March 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert, can I make a comment? Can I follow up on that? Can I make a comment?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Dr. Molasky, go ahead. You have a follow-up?
Yeah, so thank you, Bonnie, for that. I wanted to just talk a little bit about, in terms of our facilities and the power of the new gym. And my wrestling coach was also wanting to make sure I said it today also. So it gives an opportunity also for our 6th graders, as Dr. Clement talked about, but having our another large facility. Right now, our wrestlers practice in the cafeteria. We have to roll mats back and forth, and it has to be at a certain time so they don't interrupt our basketball. We can't have wrestling practice when there's a basketball game. We can't have vice versa. If there's a wrestling match in the gym, we can't have basketball practice. Our teams have been making the playoffs and have been doing very, very well, but they could do even better. We can offer intramurals. Our cheerleaders practice in the library, and that's not a safe space. So by having a new gym facility will give us multiple places for activities to be happening after school all at the same time in safe places. And hopefully we'll be able to offer more.
I can add to that. One of the things we always talk about is being on a shared campus. Not many high schools have this opportunity. We share facilities.
Yes.
Minnie and I are constantly with Anthony's back to Mr. Amarado talking about facilities and how we best use those facilities. With the referendum going forward, it changes the game for our kids. With bringing 6th graders over, there's more opportunities for athletics for them, and they need the space and the place for that to take place so they can be competitive in the county. So I think it adds to that shared services that we have limited now that would expand beyond with the referendum.
But it also, when it rains,
Oh, yeah.
and when we have crossover seasons, like so we've had the girls basketball team from the high school comes down and will be here before their season starts. It just gives us a better opportunity for both campuses.
But to Bonnie's point back there, because at the same time that we have recreation activities happening, there's no spaces for that to happen because our own facilities are being used for our own schools. So that opens the door, as Bonnie said. So I appreciate her sharing that with us. Thank you.
Leslie Floyd, 44 Marion Place. I did not plan on speaking, so I hope this is coherent. Parent of 2 children who graduated from Lawrence schools, one of whom unexpectedly ended up in the trades. One of the experiences I had when I was in school, not here, that I enjoyed the most was in middle school having exposure to wood and metal shop. I know this project is pretty far down the road, but I'd like to know if you considered the idea of including shop facilities in the middle school. I doubt there's room for it at the high school, but at least the exposure to those things for students who may not have thought that there were alternatives for them. Maybe wood and metal shop are not the right combination, although they were for me. But it's something I think that we don't think about enough, and we don't expose our kids to enough other alternatives other than a straight college experience. So,
Thank you for your comment. I just want to chime in. One of my superintendent board goals is to do exactly that, is to build out career and college readiness tracks. So any of the panelists, feel free to jump in, but I believe that this footprint does allow for more opportunity for flexibly designed spaces to kind of dream about starting that here and then having those programs move up through the high school. Dr. Adam, I'm just going to point out, we're starting a public service academy, not next school year, but the following. We recognize that careers, certificated programs, we want that honored and valued as much as a college education. We've got some really talented people out there in the trades, and we want to make sure that we are recognizing that, honoring that, supporting our VOTEC programs, and seeing everything that we can do at the secondary level to foster that sort of career exploration and design. Is there anything the two of you want to say at the secondary level? Dr. Malowski or Dr. Adam?
Okay, so one of the things I'll share with you is the old term was college and career readiness. You probably heard that term before. The new term we're moving forward with is that it's just career readiness. Because depending on what career you want to get into, there's many different preparation programs that would take into account for that. Some of it is academic, some of it is not necessarily academic, as you shared with us. So one of the things, as Dr. Klim just shared with you, is the goals for the current strategic plan at the high schools, redesigning our career academies. And one of the academies we're going to be bringing on board in a couple of years is the Service Academy, where it's an opportunity for students in high school to get real-world experiences, go right into trades or right into job opportunities, maybe public service, right? And one of the things that we learned from our students who've graduated, who've come back and share that with us, because we do panel with our students all the time, is what did they learn once they left high school they wish they knew when they were in high school. We've taken that learning from our students and share that with our team so that we can build those opportunities for the students. To build a high school wood shop class, probably not going to happen because we do have the connection with the VOTEX, obviously. However, there are other opportunities to get students out of the school, not necessarily for a full day like VOTEC, but into those trade opportunities so they can get as an experience in high school as 16 and 17, 18-year-olds to say, once I hit graduation, yes, this is what I want to pursue. Or maybe it's not what I want to pursue. I want to try something else. Learn that now as a 16 and 17-year-old and 18-year-old before you're 21, 22, 23, and then trying to figure it out. So those are things that is part of our goals to better serve our students in preparation for career readiness.
Mr. Aldridge?
I love your question. I want you to go to Slackwood School. I want you to
Tom, I
go
was just gonna
see
say that,
their
Tom.
makerspace. I want you to see that what you're asking for is happening at the lowest level of when kids enter, and they're confronted with a problem, and then they have to build a solution. And you can see this, instead of starting at high school, it starts much earlier. Now, it may start with Legos, and it may start with little robotic engines, and it's exciting, and I have to stay within 30 seconds. But I want you to go.
Ms. Muzi,
Well, I just wanted to tell you, all 5 of our elementary schools currently have active maker spaces, all different ways kids learn with hands-on experiences. When you see 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds using X-Acto knives and hammers and lighting up circuits. I was at Dr. Fisher's school today. The 3D printer is running. There's definitely hands-on experiences for those kids, so they do grow up as builders and thinkers and makers. So we're doing it, we're planting the seeds a lot earlier.
And even looking at the technical side of your question, one of the pieces that we're fortunate that the LTF actually just granted us. We're going to be bringing in VR goggles into LIS, and there's a whole program designed for the upper elementary student that will be allowing them to take an inventory about what they feel would be their career and where their interests lie. And then they're going to use those VR goggles to actually practice those skills. Last year they came, and one of the skills that all of our students got to practice was welding, and all of this, and electricians as well. So, you know, fear of heights and learning about how do you conquer that fear to then go into these trades. So again, creating those spaces, letting them prepare for positions that may or may not exist, and doing it at an age-appropriate level. This reconfiguration will really help us because, you know, and for us, our VR goggles are, you know, one of our kids' favorite things, you know, and so adding and marrying that with some of these skills will be even better.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, may I? I appreciate the county VOTEC program. I'm not sure, at least in my situation, I don't think my child would have explored that in high school. So what I'm looking for is that exposure younger, as you're talking about, but middle school, I gained life skills from wood and metal shop in middle school.
Yes, so I want to answer your question directly about that, is that this school did have a wood shop. How many of you raise your hand that had it here? Yes. That was in the back. Yes, it was in the back. Those are now science classrooms. So did we think about that? Absolutely, right? We did absolutely talk about different types of things that we can bring in, right? We don't have home ec. We don't have a wood shop. And, you know, it looks different. You know, college and career now looks a little bit different, as you heard from elementary and maker spaces and problem solving. And you heard Dave talk about VOTEC, but there's also, we have dual enrollment. We have other opportunities also besides the academies. So college and career, as Robin said, you know, is an initiative that we have brought on. In this plan, there is 2 technology rooms. There's also going to be another art room. What that looks like in terms of curriculum, that's in the development, right? And so how do we bring exactly what you're saying into the classroom earlier and expose our kids, but using the spaces that we have? The other piece, and I can probably throw this to Michelle because she wants to answer a question, is that we also are in a teacher shortage. And unfortunately, people that teach metal and wood shop have retired, and finding those certifications are very difficult. So having a teacher in front of those kids is also something that we struggle with in those specialty areas, and to be very honest with you about that.
Yeah, I think there's only one high school in Mercer County right now.
Yeah, so that's part of it. So we have to look at it differently and find out who can we get that are those experts, and that we can get our kids exposed at an earlier age. Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you for your question. Yep.
That I wanted to highlight is, you know, this school was built 75 years ago. Learning was really different then. Children's needs were really different. We're trying to prepare children for the future. As somebody said before, we don't know what the future brings, but we need more flexibility and we need more space. Maybe at times it's going to be more technology driven. Maybe it's going to be more creative and artistic. We cannot meet the needs of our students given the footprint of this school and the size of it right now. And we want to do better. We need to do better. Our kids deserve better. So I just wanted to always point out, you know, the bigger picture of this. There's some details that we might not have all fleshed out for the future, but we do know we can't meet the needs right now with the structure that it is today.
Thank you.
Before we get finished, maybe we'll at least have one question from somebody who actually is opposing the referendum. My name is Dan Dodson. I live at 10 Highfield Court. I'm a management consultant by profession. That means I have created and evaluated a lot of big proposals like this. That's what my job was. But more recently, I've become what I'm trying to call I'm trying to teach economics, actually, economics for voters, and I'm just doing, it's a little hobby thing, but this opportunity presented me with the chance to think critically about this proposal, and is it really economic for Lawrence? It's an expensive proposal. It's about $7.5 million a year, $1.15 in taxes per thousand in assessed value. Tom, I believe that's your number. And that's for 25 years. So for 25 years, we'll be paying that. That's just with what the district is telling us. But economics is the study of how we allocate resources, scarce resources like money, time, and materials that have alternate uses. That's the classic definition. For me, my scarce resource could go into saving for my 13-year-old's college education. He plays tennis. I could spend more money on tennis lessons. I have a primary bathroom that's critically stuck in the 80s that could be fixed. And maybe you have other things you could spend money on too. Maybe you're worried about prices going up, right? And the money that's going to go into this could be spent on that. Maybe your kids have issues that could be paid for as well. The problems with this referendum, though, is it's like one of those big omnibus bills in Congress. It's got something in it for everybody. It's got preschool for somebody. It's got special ed. It's got a nicer auditorium. So it's got so much stuff that we don't even really know how that's all divided up. We don't know how much money is going into preschool. We don't know how much money is going into just creating more space or special ed or what. So it'd be nice if it was broken out like that so we could think about it. It'd be nice if we were voting on those things one at a time. It's like looking at the forest through the trees. And so we're confused by all this stuff when really it's one big bill and it's all lumped together. I don't think that's the way to run a budget. The other thing that's happened here is there's a sense of urgency that's been given to us. If you don't approve this, we won't get state aid. So it's like a coupon. It's like a 10% coupon that we better act now or we're not going to get it. And, that's sort of one of those classic selling things that maybe we shouldn't appreciate. This is money that we're going to be stuck with paying for 25 years. Some other the big problems, though, is that we're building...
Mr. Dodson, do you have a question for the panel?
I'm going to give a speech because all I've heard is an hour's worth of speeches for, so I'm going to give a speech against. And all right, fine.
You're welcome to come back up if there's time. Thank you.
Martha Friend, sorry, wait, yeah, that's loud. I live at 976 Lawrenceville Road. I had two questions. It was brought up that you want to get your information from the experts. So I appreciate you all being the experts. I had a question for you because it was put out there by, in fact, Mr. Dodson. He said that you guys made this special election in March in order to keep the turnout low. Could you just explain why it was March and not November?
Mr. Aldridge, you want to take that?
Sure. With this first, we want for all of you what we want for our kids that we educate. We want you to make the best informed decisions with what you have. We want that for you. We would never do anything. We offer that same respect to everyone here. And that is, we would never try to manipulate anything that you decide. We respect that. The answer to your question is, we had the plans for this area that you're sitting in right here before we talked about a referendum. We were already on our way. And to answer directly the question that Mr. Marks asked, we already had preschool. It was already in the works for our preschool expansion before we even began the referendum. So no, they're not linked. They're not separate. You can find all of this information. It's on our website. It's in our minutes. It's in our finance committee discussions. To your direct question, again,
Was why you decided
why
March
now?
instead of November.
So why now is because we would not make a November election. And as I began this with the earnesty for what we want for our kids, we could wait until the following November. But if we did wait for the following November, that's that many more students that wouldn't have the opportunity for the educational programs we offer. So if you look at it and you say, well, how many students are there in the middle school? Roughly 600? Okay, and we bring in one more grade. and that's going to be roughly 850. That's 850 students that would lose an entire year because we waited. And if we talk about things, once you fall behind, it's hard to catch up. We don't want that for our kids. This is one shot they have, one life they have to live, and we want them to start as soon as possible.
Thank you for your answer. Can I ask that second if I'm still in the time? Mr. Dodson also posted that he thinks either the Board of Ed doesn't understand what they're voting for, or they're lying to us. Is there a board member who might speak to that? The numbers, the referendum. Yep, the referendum. So have you been kept up abreast of all the information? Are you voting on what you know?
I'm happy to do it. So I'm Kevin Van Heist, board member, chair of the Finance Committee. The board has been fully apprised and fully integral to the entire process. These ideas and thought processes and concepts come to us all the time. It's up to the board and specifically the Finance Committee to kind of evaluate these. And we have been part and parcel of the entire design process, what would be integrated. We have met with our professionals to figure out the scope. Everything has been thought out and been very, very intentional. From a personal perspective, I've got two kids, as Michelle had indicated, that both have gone all the way through the district. In 2022, my son graduated, is now at Penn State. I thought he was unprepared for college. A big part of that was actually coming out of the pandemic. Not that he didn't get the course materials, but he was never challenged. That kind of class caused an evaluation from our superintendent to our staff members, to our supervisors. Fast forward 2 years ago, my daughter graduated this past June. Same school, exceptionally prepared. This referendum is the next step in that process. We were forced to reevaluate everything that we were doing going into the pandemic and then coming out of the pandemic. We've essentially maxed out on our ability to move those services forward. And as Tom had indicated, we had plans that we've been looking at to kind of upgrade or bandage this facility again. I sat in these chairs. I went kindergarten through high school here. And so I'm just as vested as most of us. My family have been in this town since the 1700s. I've sat in those exact seats. So we were looking at that, but there was an opportunity to actually take this to the next level. And this is what was essentially necessary. We met with, and so I was a poli-sci econ major, so I could go toe-to-toe with you on the economics with it if we want. I actually do local government work. Well, I do local government work where we do bond referendums. So my expertise was brought to kind of help assist with this process to ensure that we were not getting mission creep. So we had very specific instructions that this wasn't going to just be a Pandora's box, that we were just going to throw anything in there that because it was bright and shiny, which does happen in towns. The other thing that we made sure was everything had a strategic purpose and was going to ensure kind of forwarding that core mission. This building is woefully, inadequate for the needs. There is a little bit of something that's in there for everybody. For our staff, as we've heard, better spaces, better working conditions. For our supervisors, this causes the alignment that allows our supervisors to actually work with the teachers in grade appropriate levels that puts them in the cohorts that is going to maximize student achievement. For our students, it gives them a reason to come in and stay in after school activities, because if the students are engaged and can get in here and stay in here, they become vested, performance goes up. For the rest of us community members, if performance goes up, then our property values go up, our schools are engaged, our community gets better. And through all of that, poor Robin, as first 2 years, the questions that I posed and raised, and frankly on every cost, was, I think, enlightening to several of our new, certainly Vanessa sat at some meetings, and I think we're wondering what they got themselves into with the questions that I asked, and even By profession, I do a lot of planning board work, zoning board work, so I challenged every one of those estimates. I know stormwater management measures, I know what the cost of those are, and so they are all built in here, and I'm satisfied that our numbers are real, are accurate. The board has been apprised of them, and we've posted them on the website, so we've tried to make them as transparent as possible. So the numbers are what they are.
Thank you, Mr. Van Heist. Ms. Friend, I think you have 59 more seconds, or? You're good? All right. Sir?
Fred Gomberg, 3 Chatsworth Court. Just one question to the group here. If this doesn't get passed, what happens? Where are we?
So I can start. Listen, we are going to reconfigure regardless of the outcome of this bond referendum. Our kids desperately need the configuration and the vision that I put forth this evening. Will it look as pretty or tied in or aesthetically appealing when you drive by? You know, do we have to consider dropping a trailer here and there or adding space that isn't necessarily appealing or you know, designed for our teachers to feel comfortable in, for our students to feel proud of? Is there anybody else on the panel that wants to address the rest of that question? Mr. Eldridge?
Was anyone in the area in 1992? Just raise your hands. Do you remember what the high school looked like? Okay, so we don't want to go back there. And what that means is we had an area where we had trailers, modular buildings, poles with wires running between them. The first and most critical thing we have to do, in the sense of urgency that we have, is not scarcity. It's our kids' time to get services to them. If that means that we have to build modular buildings, then modular buildings it will be. And so we will move ahead. We started this with saying Lawrence is scrappy. We're absolutely scrappy. And we will find a way. The problem that we're going to have is when we find a way without a bond referendum, Lawrence will pay for the whole thing with no assistance at all. None. So we would rather receive the assistance by way of state aid, and the way we do that is through a bond referendum. Right now, we don't have the ability to apply for any grants that we would get funded at this point, unless I'm mistaken, from our architects. And so the bond referendum is our mechanism, the most economical mechanism to move forward.
And I think an important piece of that, though, is safety. You know, with this, there's so many things here that keep our kids safe, and that's our number one priority. You know, when you start talking about modulars, you know, as I sit here,
you don't want
as the principal,
we don't want
that makes me.
We would have to
gives me lots of feelings.
Modular buildings, and then we would have to put up security gates all the way around them, and then there would be fire ratings and things of that nature. That is not the direction we wish to go in. And if we had a whole lot of time in explanation, I don't know that's the direction you want to go in. And that is not a fear thing, but you asked the question, what will we do? We have to deliver service. We will find a way. But it will cost us a great deal. And we will still have to go out for a referendum, by the way, because in this referendum, it's not just new spaces. We're doing renovation capital project in here. So we're putting on a new roof. We're going to do that whether we pass a referendum or not. We have to pave the parking lot for a few $1 million. We're going to do that whether we have a referendum or not. So it makes sense to go out for a bond referendum and have other residents of New Jersey provide us state aid, as opposed to carrying that whole burden ourselves. So if we're going to, I'm going to go back a napkin here, $5 million probably in paving, and I'll look at the architects, easy for this area here. So I would rather have 40% of that funded through the state, because that would be eligible for 40%, than to forego that and pay for the whole thing. It's a parking lot. It doesn't have much in the way of educational value. It's just a responsibility for us to maintain. So we have to think smart about it, and one way to do that is to bond for it, because then Lawrence residents, through tax levy, don't pay the whole thing. And we can give that example of roofs. We can give that example of the entire building here with these walls. We would like to abate these walls, which are at some level have asbestos in them. We want this to go away. Why not have 40% of that funding come from the boundaries outside of Lawrence?
Thank you, Mr. Eldridge.
Hi, my name is Nicole Einhorn, and I've been working in the district for 16 years. I actually moved from Ewing to Lawrence because I loved the school system once I worked here so that my kids could go through here. And I have one student still in school and one student at Rutgers, well prepared for his college education. And I just wanted, my training is a social worker, and I wanted to talk about why it's important to invest in middle school. If you guys all think back to middle school, they are the worst years developmentally. They are so uncomfortable. The developmental stage is all about figuring out who you are. It's identity. Who do I want to be? Who am I? Who am I separate from my parents? Who am I separate from the people I went to elementary school with? Investing in the middle school allows more student engagement. When students, that's when they start to drop out of things, that's when we lose them, that's when they become disengaged. So if we increase the opportunities, we increase the engagement, we increase everything. They stay engaged through high school, they come back and support our community, their community. It builds something, and we do a lot at the elementary school, we do a lot at the high school. Dr. Mulaski makes this place magical. It should be horrible. It really should. And if you go home with a 12 or 13 or 14-year-old, you know what I'm talking about. But she does so much work to make everyone feel like they belong and matter and keep them engaged. And if we have 6th graders who can be part of that, and we keep them going in 7th grade, and we keep them going in 8th grade, it travels up. So just, middle school is important, and it's worth investing our time.
I'd like to piggyback on that. Having the lens of watching our 4th graders transform into 6th graders, they do hit a wall, I would say around the middle of 6th grade, where they're itching to have those middle school opportunities. And we provide as much as we can in our setting, but as Dr. Klim had mentioned, it's a lot of different dynamics at the LIS level, a lot of different schedules. We actually run 6 different schedules at a time to make the building work. And they're itching for those additional opportunities that come with the middle school. So seeing that and seeing how much they really crave that, we replicate and help that as much as we can, but just being able to be immersed in that full middle school experience will really benefit our students. So to reiterate what she said.
Thank you. I think we had a gentleman over here.
Thank you for having the meeting tonight. I was just thinking about how the state has changed the way that aid has been given out over the past 10 years or so, and I know that a lot of the reason we're going for this referendum seems to be for the benefit in state aid that we give out but we don't seem to get back. So, what is the likelihood that if this referendum passes, that it's over the course of 25 years, that we don't, the state decides to change their allocations and we don't actually see that benefit that we were promised?
Looks like a question for you, Mr. Eldridge.
I've been doing this for 30 years, 23 years in Lawrence. I've never seen the state default on state aid with respect to debt service aid. So I can't tell you what the probabilities are. You can draw your own from that. But I've not seen that happen before.
Who's going to get to the mic faster? I like a good competition. I'm not lying.
It's like the Phillies game,
Hi, everybody. Josh Blatt, 42 Laurentia Drive.
That's wireless if you want to take it out of the holder.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand to watch you.
First of all, I just want to thank everybody who's up here right now, because I've had 2 children that have gone through the primary and secondary education. One graduated in 2021. One is graduating next year. He's back there. I probably have embarrassed him by now. Yeah. I'm a management consultant as well. I actually been a management consultant for about 25 years. So I too have that skill of kind of looking through proposals and understanding sort of what the value derived from it is. I trust the people that we have on here, that they've gone through the processes to really understand the cost associated with all of the improvements and making sure that we're getting an optimized value for every dollar that's being spent. I think Kevin went through some of that. You went through, Tom, some of the bidding process. I found it interesting, though, that you cited a personal opportunity cost of your 1980s bathroom while we're all sitting here in a 1951 auditorium. I also appreciated Kevin citing the fact that this is an investment for us. Neither of my kids are going to be here to personally benefit from it, but I see it as a homeowner, as an investment in this community, because in Mercer County, you know, we're in a competitive county, you know, with Princeton and West Windsor. So the better education that we can provide, the better facilities that we have, it's only going to benefit us in terms of our property values and so forth. But I digress. The one question that I do have, though, is, and I don't know if this is something that you've left up to the contractors when you go through the bidding process, but has any thought been given to minimizing the disruption to operations and the education that's provided as you're going through the construction and the improvements? So I'll just leave it there and I'll go back and let you answer.
So I am sitting next to the most capable person I know with respect to what we call phasing. As we start a project in one area and we abandon that area while we work on it, and then we move them back to another area. The high school addition in 2005 was a 9-phase project over about 5 years. This will be a lengthy project also. So the answer to your question is yes. We have absolutely contemplated that, and no, we have not yet determined, based on the bid documents, what will be phased. First, we have ideas. We, of course, wouldn't walk into this with no ideas. We do have a concept of how we would do that. The renovation work would be done during the summer so that it was ready to reoccupy. We could build the new addition, finish the new addition, move into the new addition, then abandon parts of the old section for its renovation when the time comes. And then only after the building was done would we then move the 6th grade over. So we would be building for one whole additional grade level, but not bring it over until it's fully ready. That gives us what we call swing space. So imagine if you had a temporary kitchen in your home when you're doing your kitchen or your bathroom, and you could use that place as it's being built. Well, since most of what we're doing, if you could point out the new addition, is the upper area there, that new addition, it can be built essentially separately. When it's ready, we can move into it, and then we can do the rest of, you were like working for the airlines, you know what I mean? So that's how we would do it. Now, here's the hard part. The tricky part is what happens every single day, and there is no question, if I'm in that particular type of scenario, Dr. Malofsky is who I need. I have watched her make these things happen. So we have the expertise to do this. We have the know-how to do it. Our architects are here. They know how to create swing space. Day to days, there will be issues. There will be somebody who decides to get there early and park a fleet of dump trucks on Princeton Pike. Contractors will do strange things. And, you know, we're not here at 3 in the morning when the trucks arrive. And, you may call Ghostbusters, I call Mindy. Okay, Mindy, we're going to close down the sidewalk. We're going to get 100 cones out there. We're going to move everyone here. We'll call the police department, who's fantastic. They always help. We have the resources. We have the commitment. We have the know-how, and we're practical. We'll make it happen. Right now, I'm smiling as if those things are fun. We don't know what they are, but we have the resources to address them when the time comes.
Yeah, so I have the best staff possible, and that includes central office, right? And so, Tom and I have done this before. And I was at the high school when the project, for 2 projects actually, major projects building on in the back of the building, and then the entire 2006, it finished in 2006. So there was construction going on all around us all the time. I mean, just yesterday in room 105, we had a steam heater issue, and we had to move kids and move them to all different rooms throughout the day. So stuff happens, and this is what you smile. It is fun, actually, figuring out the puzzle of what we have to do in creating schedules. Again, keeping kids safe. We'll have to do all new plans for evacuations. We'll do all new plans for fire drills and any safety. As Steven's shaking his head, these are things that we think about all of the time because sometimes we'll have to be on a fire watch and so forth. So those are all things that are in our heads that we do all of the time.
Any LES parents in the room?
Process.
LES, only one? So when we put the addition on LES, it was about 4 months before we came to the opening. We looked at the plans. We didn't have confidence. So we looked at a longtime resident who went to school here, Bo Hitchcock, our director of facilities, also engineering background. I said, you will run the job right now. You will tell that contractor what they're doing. We will step in. We will make this happen. He pulled up his Suburban, threw up the back, and pulled out a table, threw his hard hat on, pulled the plans out, and he looked at me and he said, this is not what I do. And I said, of course, but you know how to do it, and we will do it. And we opened. So we don't take no for answer. It's all can do. We will find the resources. And fantastic with Lawrence is sometimes our residents are our best resources. Sometimes the project manager is our greatest resource. And Lawrence comes forward and they answer the call. And we may tap you. But
Thank
we
you.
get it done.
I think we have a couple more.
Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight and for your expertise. I started at LES and then Ben Franklin and all through the schools, graduated in '91, worked all over the world, and then came back to raise my kids here and go through Lawrence schools. I love the community. I love the diversity in the community, both in every way. And what strikes me about a lot of the conversation tonight and the way in which we're talking about the benefits of Lawrence is about the people, and particularly about the personnel. I couldn't tell you what LES's building was like, or Ben Franklin when they changed the zoning, or I do remember what the high school was like when I graduated, but my memories aren't of the building, they're of the teachers. And I didn't plan on talking tonight, but what struck me when you introduced everybody was that you're all hiring managers. And I haven't really heard any commentary about how this plan, if it passes, will affect your ability to attract and retain talent. Or conversely, if it doesn't pass, what are some of your fears about being able to retain and attract new talent? Thank you.
Is that me?
I can
Or
start.
Ms. D'Angelo. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Dr.
what,
Fisher. Yeah.
because I think that in this realignment, our building probably will have the most flexibility in terms of staffing and scheduling when the reconfiguration is done. The certifications for most of our staff at the elementary level, their certifications generally are K-5. And sixth grade is kind of, even in the certification world, a tricky area because sixth grade in that middle school model often will have a departmentalized nature of the certificate. But what happens is that when I have a building that allows the entire building, other than our specialists, to have the same certification, it creates so much versatility and flexibility within how we schedule that I can take and anyone who's come into LIS and asked for a schedule, it's a beautiful color-coded 6-grid schedule. I can condense that. And what that will do is create so much more flexibility within our day and using my staff more flexibly. Right now, because of the configuration, because of the grade level bands, we really are pigeonholed into what we do. And we do it well, but now that flexibility of how I use my staff and having everyone have the same certification and essentially the same training is going to be essential. Recently, we just started training staff in a morphology program, and I'll use that as one of our examples. It's a fantastic program, but it's only for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade staff members, and I see some of my teachers here that have recently gotten that training. My 6th grade staff then now has to learn, because they're coming up to there and they're in the building and we're going to be immersing their students throughout it, but they're not part of that training because it's an elementary model. So allowing our staff to all have the same training and do it as a building as opposed to having everything 4, 5, and then 6 is going to be really, really helpful. So for at least LIS, it's going to open so many more doors in terms of staffing. And once we build that model and build the schedule so that we have that, our teachers are going to be able to do so much more and not feel that they're segmented in one particular grade.
I would be remiss if I didn't explain to you that we are currently growing the pathway of educators in this district. Currently now at the high school, we've got a full-time preschool program that supports our growth and development class. Dr. Pankos is in the back. She supervises that program. Essentially, the goal is to get our high school kids to get excited about early childhood education. And then they have access to this little preschool site that we now have at the high school that runs 5 days a week. So our hope is their thirst of teaching and learning grows. They go to college and they come back and serve our district. Many of our graduates come back and serve our district. So again, even through contract negotiations, I'm giving a little wink to my friend over here. We're negotiating 2 units right now in the midst of all of this, but we are putting in thoughtful plans to make sure that our teacher assistants have access to good professional development. If there's an area of expertise that sparked, Mr. Fry is here from HR. He is constantly working with our educators on their pathway and trajectory to build certificates so that they can be eligible. We've got teachers approaching us right now. I mentioned 34% of our families, English is not their home language. Do you know how many teachers are saying, help me figure out how to become dually certified in either special ed or ESL because I want to better serve all children in my room. So please understand, and thank you for the question, Mr. Ryan, we are constantly looking at ways to retain teachers, to honor their expertise, and to build their skill set.
Can I also ask? Sure. So, sorry, I have to keep him in the back. So Madame Bale can't wait for this auditorium to be, right? And they have been what's exciting about it is our teachers are part of the process, right? So we had all of them, they've given their input. I'm looking at some of my other teachers that are here tonight and, just moving around with 29 kids in a classroom, and then if we can change space and what that looks like and feels like on an everyday basis, teaching's hard. It's hard, and they're exhausted from the social emotional pieces that they put in, the academic work that they put in. And so when you come to a space that's inviting, just for the same way for kids, it's gonna do that for our staff, right? So they're gonna wanna stay because they also had a say in it, right? So yeah, thank you for the hands up, the spirit fingers, I appreciate that.
Ms. D'Angelo, did you wanna add to that for the?
Well, I mean, we have an agreement right now, and we're looking at not only salary guides, and of course, we want to be attractive for new teachers, right? And so we're currently considering and, really hopeful that our new teachers will be starting at, an unheard of starting salary, which I'm not at liberty to mention right now. But I also want to let you know that at the end of this 3-year contract, 44% of our teachers will be at the top, right? And that's also something that we want to value and we want to reward. And not only is that through, salary, but it is through environment.
We talked about Lawrence being gritty. Mr. Amarata, student, back as a teacher. Gerald Trueheart, student, on the Wall of Fame and back. We have Jill Pozluzny. She's back, works with us. Adrian, you were a student, weren't you? Back, works with us. Kristen Burke, back, works with us. We have Vanessa back. So absolutely, we love the fact that people come back.
As well as your board as well.
And our board
members with
there,
students and teachers.
Yep.
So
And if I
I'm going
missed
to
you,
have
I'm
to
sorry.
end us. It is 8:10. I'm really excited and thrilled about the response from everybody and the questions that we had. We will be hosting a virtual town hall on February 26th. We would love to continue the conversation. I appreciate everybody's time and energy in this. We cannot do it without our community, and our job is to inform you of what we're doing. And we appreciate all your feedback. Have a wonderful night.
Please grab some food on your way out. Thank you for coming.